Good morning, everybody. Okay, I'm doing my video today. I want to talk about our relationship with God. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the years that I have spent in churches, like it came nowhere near to how I began building my personal relationship with God. Once God actually pulled me away from the churches. He pulled me away from the churches in order for me to build my own personal relationship with Him. And it's been 2 years now. It's been a little over 2 years now, and over a little over those 2 years, like I have seen God work in my life in ways that I always look for Him. You know how you listen to people in church, or you see people like, God is so good, God is so good. I was that person who like, who is this God? Who is this God? Like, I wanted to know and get to experience who this God was. And over the past I'm gonna say it's been 2.5 years. Over the past 2.5 years, see, I had no idea that my first book was gonna be my healing, was gonna kickstart my healing process from the trauma that I had went through in my past. I was in a 9-year abusive relationship where my abuser did abduct me at gunpoint, in which he ended up killing the police officer. The police ended up killing him. And God had gave me the vision back in 2016 to write and to speak. So when He gave me that vision, I'm like, okay. I thought I was just gonna be telling my story the whole time. I didn't know when I started writing this book 2 years ago that it had kickstarted my healing process. So when I did write that first book in 2021, I fasted for a couple of days. And then God gave me fresh revelation about that situation. He was showing me where He was present and how He was literally ordering my steps during that process when my kid's dad had me at that time. So He was showing me where He was present. He was showing me how He was ordering my steps during that process. It wasn't how I had perceived the situation to be. I mean, I was abducted, of course, but He was showing me where He was present in my life at that time. So God has healed me over the past 2.5 years. This is without me having to be in an actual physical church. And this is my life. I can't say if you're supposed to be in a church or not, but God pulled me away to build my own personal relationship with Him. So that was the first, that's what God did for me first. And He revealed to me, the whole thing was, God met me where I was. He met me where I was at that time because my spirit wasn't high enough to meet Him at that time. So He met me where I was at the beginning of my healing process. And at the beginning of my healing process, I was actually going through a toxic relationship at that time. It was ending at that time. So not knowing I was gonna have to be healed from that too. So God ended up healing me from, like, God gave me peace. He gave me peace. He brought me healing. He brought me peace. He has brought me everything that you cannot pay for. You can't buy none of this. He brought me happiness. He brought me joy. This is over a 2.5-year period. Excuse me. And at the I had started my celibacy journey in 2021. See, that's the thing with God. Once God meets you at one point in your life, it's your job. It's our job to feed our spirit and raise our spirit up to meet God where He is after that, which means we have to fast, we have to read His word, we have to turn away from sin. The sin part I understood, but I didn't really get until this year. So yes, God has healed me. He has brought me peace. He has brought me this joy. Like, I literally, like, I was at a point because I was in relationships my entire life from the age of 16 up until 2 years ago. Like, I was in relationships my entire life. Like, I never gave myself proper time for me. I never gave myself proper time to heal. And that was something that I found out that I needed to do a couple of years ago when this last relationship was ending. So you don't have to, like, God gonna meet you wherever you are in life. I don't care how much sin you involved in. I don't care what's going on. Like, God, if you really want God in your life, God is going to meet you where you are. He met me where I was at that point in my life. And I really needed him at that time. I really needed him at that time, because that last relationship, like, God allows certain things in our life to happen because he will use those things as a catalyst to put us into position to where we're supposed to be in life. And the thing, a lot of people are always talking about, they don't want to talk about their business. They don't want to share their experiences. The thing is, when you don't share your experiences, when you don't share your testimonies, you're robbing humankind of them possibly healing, them possibly escaping from a situation, possibly preventing them from committing suicide. You have no idea what weight your story will hold in somebody else's life. So you can never withhold your testimony because you might feel embarrassed about what you went through. I got my butt kicked from A to Z in my first relationship. Like, literally, I used to be embarrassed to talk about that. I used to be embarrassed to say, I got beat on by my kid's dad. The last relationship, it broke my heart, and I know God used that. He used that because he knew that was going to be my breaking point, when I'm like, okay, God, I don't know what else to do at this point. And I was at that point after that relationship. I'm like, God, I'm tired. Like, I cry, I beg God for help. And that's when when I begged God for help, that was the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And that's when he gave me fresh revelation about my life, about, how he's been there for me. That's when I learned how fasting, like, really opens up that door for God to come into my life, to reveal things to me, to show me things that I, like, if I don't understand it, he will show me. He will God has been awesome. Like, over these past 2.5 years, my personal relationship with him has shown me more than any church, any pastor, any preacher could ever show me in my life. Like, I'm not trying to discredit no pastors, no preachers, nobody, because there's some good ones out here. Some good ones out here that preach his word. But in the same sense, if you're not building your own relationship with him, then what's the point of you going to church? Because there's people that be in church for years, literally for years, and don't have a personal relationship with God. Like, they go and they worship, and when they leave church, they don't know who God is. They don't have a relationship with him. Like, they have no idea. And that's how I was, like, from 2008 up until the beginning of 2021. Because I'm not gonna lie, God stripped me down to the bone. He stripped me down to the bone. He had to make sure he had my full and undivided attention. Like, God, he took my car. Excuse me. Like I explained in the last video, out of everything, not even the last video, I think it was 2 videos before, out of everything you could possibly alter, I knew it was God. And it was time for me to give up that and it was time, excuse me, 0. And it was time for me to it was time, he wanted me to give up that car, because he know I will not sit still. He's always blessed me. I've always been blessed to have a car my entire life. Always been blessed. And I thank God for that. Like, seriously. I knew it was at that point he was forcing me to get rid of the car, which I was like, I didn't want to part with. I'm like, no, out of everything you could possibly alter on a car, whoever had the car before me, they altered the power steering pump. Like, out of everything you could alter, you alter the power steering pump. And then when I noticed that, I was still trying to hold on to it, still trying to find somebody, see if they could fix it, this, that, another. But when it came down to it, and that the mechanic really couldn't pinpoint what type of power steering pump it was, I'm like, okay. I ended up selling the car. So what was I about to say? But he stripped me down to the bone. He stripped me of everything, like the people around me. He wanted to make sure he had my full undivided attention. Like, he brought people to mind. He gave me the sense of who I needed to cut off in my life. I had to cut. I literally separated myself from the entire world. the entire world. Like, I literally did. He had me all to himself for the past 9 months. Well, I can't really say 9 months because I was still working. I was still and that's another thing. That's what he did last month. When I totally put everything into God's hands and changed my phone number, that's when God, he separated me from my job. He separated me from my job. I'm not gonna lie. And that's one thing, you know, that was my hardest thing, trusting God. I had a hard time, you know, when you used to doing things your own way. You used to making your own money. You used to doing this. You used to doing this. You used to being in control of everything. God had to kill that part of me. He had to start teaching me how to trust him, And I had to look back over the past year or so. You know, no matter what I was going through, God was there. God provided. He definitely did. You know, I owe God, I'm in debt to God. I owe God my life. You know, I come on here, I share my testimonies, hoping that it helps somebody. You know, I don't know what others going through. I know a lot of people are going through things in life right now. When I say God has healed me from my past traumas, from being in an abusive relationship, God has healed me from heartbreak. God has been my provider. God has been my source for everything, and I didn't realize that beforehand. Because even when I was working, I'm not gonna lie, I was coming into so many issues, like car issues, issues with the app that I work from. I was coming into so many issues that was preventing me from even working. So, you know, and last month when I totally turned everything over to God, like, I got kicked out the system from the app that I was working from. So I'm like, you know, I ain't gonna lie, at that time I smiled and I'm like, okay, God, okay. You know, the whole thing I know there's something that I have to do, something that God told me to do, and that's something I have to do. And I know that that's gonna carry me over into my next level. So I'm not you know, I know what I have to do because God told me this. And the thing is, when God tell you something, a lot of times when he tell you to do something or something's gonna take place, one thing I realized is that it don't always happen at that time when he tell you. Because when I wrote my first book, you know, all 3 words came to my spirit literally after I did that first book, and it was fix the book. So I'm like, okay. I was avoiding, at that time I didn't want to read the book over because it was so emotional, me writing the book. You know, like, I literally cried during the entire writing of that book. So I'm like, I'm not reading this book again. But that was when God gave me the revelation. He was showing me, you know, how he was present in my life, and I had a different outlook on the situation. You know, I even had to, it's not, I don't know how some of y'all feel, but I even had to laugh at myself, like, how could you put up with this for so long? Like, you know, you see things differently once God get involved and once you invite God into your life. But when those 3 words hit my spirit, fix the book, I was trying to figure out every way outside of rereading that book. But as time went on and as I kept going through things, I understood that that wasn't the season for me to fix that book. He was just letting me know ahead of time that I'm gonna have to fix that book. And I'm like, okay. So I know what I have to do. But you guys, I am a part of a collaboration with some other authors that will be out in September. Pre-sales start next month in August. On Facebook, each author will be interviewed by the person who hosting this collaboration. So you get the opportunity to actually listen to each testimony from each person. You know, everybody had their own testimonies. Everybody tell their stories differently than the next. Even though y'all may have been through similar situations, everybody have a way of telling their own stories. So it's a book of different authors with testimonies, their testimonies with our testimonies, you know, that we're writing about and we're sharing publicly You know, you guys, you just can't be afraid to, you know, share your testimony, because your testimony will help somebody out, even though you may feel like it's pointless to share, or it's too personal to share. Your testimony will very well help someone out, believe it or not. But don't be stingy with your testimony. Share your testimony. I came on to do my video today, but you guys have an awesome day. I'll be back on either Sunday. So I'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. All right.